This is Francis Deco with TIRIAS Research. I am here with Durga Malladi, who he doesn't like me calling him this, but I think he's the Chief AI Officer of Qualcomm. It's not official, but we're here at CES 2025 in Las Vegas. Durga, it's always great to talk to you.
Nice to see you again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So maybe we could start out, this is probably a good time just to kind of reflect a little bit. You guys have done a lot of things around AI. And being what I think as the Chief AI Officer of Qualcomm, where do you think the state of the union is as far as on-device AI and that transition from the big data centers out to the edge?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen in the last 18 months or so, stepping back in time, back in the day when we first articulated about, hey, we can do generative AI inference running on devices that you and I can carry.
That was only two years. That was like 2020.
And in that, it was in 2023. You're right.
Yeah.
But we also felt like we were the only ones talking about it,
Yeah.
which is fine, which is perfectly fine. But we articulated all the reasons. Why? Because we can. We just have that computational capability now. You can do that no matter what your internet connectivity is. So for latency reasons, for privacy, for security, for personalization. But increasingly, what we are beginning to see now is we're not the only ones talking about it anymore. I think there is a gradual sea change in terms of the thought process saying, yeah, you know what? We don't have to run everything on the data center. It's still great for a lot of things, but we can do generative AI inference on devices as a complement to what can be done on the data center.
Yeah.
And effectively, we summarized it in a single sentence in our Investor Day back in November when we said, our vision for how this will transpire is that you train on cloud and run on Qualcomm.
Yeah.
That's like a very good way of actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
They complement each other in the right way. And somewhere in between, there's like a whole range of things that can be done with edge servers and so on. So I think the narrative has gradually changed, and there is a gradual realization that yes, for a full-scale adoption and proliferation of generative AI, we got to run on devices. So really glad to see that. And since then, the number of devices on which we can do generative AI inference has also increased, moving from smartphones to PCs, industrial and consumer IoT, and in digital cockpit, and of course ADAS is all about AI, but it's now a much broader range of devices.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I know you guys are even looking at, and when you say edge, depending on where you're coming from, some people even think of like the edge of the network, and I know you guys have some like cloud AI 100 things happening there, and even from that point to the devices that you have, you could potentially see kind of, and I only bring this up because you guys are still strong in obviously 5G and going into 6G. You could potentially have kind of a hybrid edge AI situation where you need that connectivity built into places like PCs and so forth.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right on that. In fact, our definition of the edge is obviously all the devices, but also one hop away from the devices at that right edge where we have the first node where the processing can be done. So edge servers, for example, enterprise edge servers, these are servers that could be sitting in the basement of your building. These are the kinds of things. Or it could be a home AI hub, which is doing all the processing on behalf of the clients that are located inside the home. We define that as the edge. So maybe it's not only the devices, but it's a combination of these edge servers, and that's where we've invested quite a bit into our edge AI processors that you can run in a server that's located out there, in addition to what we're doing on the devices.
So looking into 2025 now, you were one of the first ones to tell me about Agentic AI, and now other people are starting to talk about it too. Maybe it's that, but is there anything else that you see in your telescope looking out into 2025?
I think if you were to take a look at what we see coming up in 2025, this is our perspective. The Agentic AI workflow, and we've called it as Agentic AI Orchestrator, it's redefining the interface to all the devices that we use today. And that's why specifically at our Investor Day, we even said AI is the new UI. It's redefining that user interface in a very dramatic manner. Now, there's going to be a lot of demos with that. We will be driving it quite extensively. But what is becoming clear is that with these agentic workflows, we are bringing in extremely complex tasks, all done by an AI agent in your devices, which is then handling all of this and then giving you the right feedback and the right answers from there. Whether it's code generation in an enterprise, whether it's a very smart AI assistant that's running on your phone, or it could be an industrial IoT equipment, or it could be your digital cockpit in a vehicle, and you're talking to it, making a reservation in a restaurant, and by the time you're done, even your spouse actually gets a text message saying, okay, that's where we meet, and then your car is getting rerouted to that place. So there's like a whole set of extremely sophisticated workflows and use cases that you can build with AI assistants and these agentic AI workflows, and that's what we're looking forward to. We're driving that quite extensively. One other part in addition to that, so that actually is redefining the UI, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that space. But another part that I'm hoping that we see a lot more is there's a lot of capabilities that have now been built into the devices, and a lot of the OEMs are bringing in their own applications. But we want to see more and more third-party developers coming in and building use cases on top of these agentic workflows. It's a very rich and fertile area for innovation, and we trust the ecosystem out there to bring in these use cases. Now, last year when we announced our Qualcomm AI Hub, the one of the primary reasons for that was to encourage developers to come in, pick any model, pick any framework, pick any runtime, pick any device. We'll give you cloud native access to a physical device, test out the use case that you have, and go ahead and deploy. And we are continuing to invest in that space. But the primary purpose is to make sure that more and more developers are aware of the fact that, hey, I can build all these use cases on top, and be in a position where third-party developers, a lot of them, some of the use cases that I don't think you and I can even imagine some of them, but we really trust those developers too. So it's going to be about developer traction and use cases with Gen AI on one side, and technology evolution with agentic workflows. And of course, models are getting more and more sophisticated, every month these days almost. At Investor Day, we talked about the fact that what you can run yesterday in the cloud, today you can run in the device. It's happening even today. So it's like a continuous narrative, which is only good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Whether it's us interacting with AI powered apps or our agents interacting, the value creation is going to be how rich that AI app developer ecosystem is, and if they're pumping things out. So you mentioned AI Hub. How's that going? What's the engagement like with your developer community? It seems like it's just kind of shot up.
Oh, the number of jobs that are running in the background, the number of developers, it's a steady increase in the number of developers that are out there. I'm on the Slack channel myself. I kind of monitor things. There's always that moment when you have a threshold number of developers above which, when the next one comes in and has some basic questions, there's some other developer who says, hey, I can help you out on this and so on. So that's beginning to happen.
That kind of engagement is good.
Which is very nice to see. The best part about the whole part of this whole thing is we've added like a larger number of device categories. It used to be only phones, then it became phones and PCs, then it became IoT devices. We have automotive. We even added our the Wi-Fi access point, which can now act as a AI hub at home. So continue to monitor that space, because these are all very different categories, but all supported via the hub. And the best part of it is that you can be any developer anywhere. It's a very simple way of signing up and going from there onwards. It's all free, so it makes it very easy for a developer to get started.
So for automotive, what device do you have? And do you have like a Mercedes Formula One car back there?
I wish. No, it's a much smaller form factor reference platform.
Okay. All right.
But I wish.
Very cool. Well, as always, Durga, it's great to catch up with you. Looking forward to talk to you throughout the year. As you know, 2025 just seems like it's going to be exponential in terms of AI.
All right. Nice talking to you.
Perfect. Thanks Durga. Thank you.